Right now with Levi Suzanne, and what they do boggles my mind. It is because I'm so excited. They're beekeepers, and I go in my garden every day. And I see bees, and I jump for joy. I'm that excited to see bees. So why explain what you do, boom boom, a little bit about bees, boom boom boom, and why it's so essential they are.
Okay, so what I do is I started beekeeping, I guess, as a little kid. My father had bees, and I was like 5 and 6, and I would go out and look at the hives with him, and then run back inside. Didn't want to get stung. And then my father got out of beekeeping, and about 10 years ago, my dad wanted to start bees again. So I decided, okay, let's try it. So we got bees, and we took care of them. And we lost them a couple years in the winter. And finally I said, I want to look into this and figure out what's going on and try to keep bees better. So I looked for some help and someone to mentor me, and I did that and proceeded to find a mentor. And that actually was Suzanne here.
You need a mentor.
Yeah.
You need a mentor.
I did to start, and now 4 years later, 3.5 years later, we're on the same page almost. We're running our hives. We're helping each other. I'll go over to her yard. She'll come over to my yard. I'm running about 80 colonies. A lot of them are small.
Bees.
Correct.
How many bees per colony?
It depends on your colony size. You can have a colony that could be 10,000 bees. You could have a colony that could be 200,000 bees.
Wow.
It all depends on the size. New colonies are usually smaller. They're going to grow over the summer and develop for winter to survive, hopefully. So some of my colonies are big. I have some that are, this tall. They're 6, 8 boxes maybe. And then other ones that could be just one little box. So it's a lot of diversity. You can have a huge hive. You can have a tiny hive. If you take care of them right, make sure they have food, they do pretty well.
Ready? What is honey? Because I'm not against honey, but a lot of vegans are.
Sure. So
Is that a good question?
That's
it's
a very good question.
Exactly.
That's a very important question.
most people
question.
don't realize. So bees actually go out to flowers and they collect what's called nectar.
Yeah.
And they'll collect different nectar from different flowers, and the honeybee will come back and unload that nectar to another bee. That bee will take that nectar and
One second.
Go ahead.
Repeat that again.
A
Honeybee goes out.
It'll collect the nectar from flowers,
The honeybee will go to the flowers and collect the nectar. Good.
and then it will bring it back. And
Who's to bring it back to?
the hive.
The hive.
So they'll
That's
bring it
their
back
job.
to the hive.
All
Yes.
bees, that's their job.
Yes. They'll bring it back to the hive. The other bee will unload, take the honey.
What
and
other bee?
nectar.
The worker bees?
Another worker bee.
One of the house bees.
One of the houses. So you have bees that do different jobs.
Correct.
Yes, yeah.
It's all in the age of the bee.
All in the age
Yeah.
of the
They
bee.
have different jobs depending on how old they are.
They have different jobs depending on how old. So the younger bees,
They're the nurse bees.
So yeah, the younger bees are the house bees. They do the jobs inside the house, from feeding larvae and queen cells, cleaning up, removing dead, and offloading nectar from the foragers. Foragers are the oldest bees. That's the last job they have, is foraging.
that's the one that goes to the
So
flowers.
they're the ones you see out of the flowers.
Yep.
They're the oldest ones. They've already done all the other house jobs.
So this is like their retirement before their death.
Yep.
Yep.
They'll literally
Wow.
fly
And they literally work.
and collect honey, and they'll die coming back with a load of honey. They're just not strong enough to make it back, and they die.
They literally go till they drop.
They work until they die.
And how old are they, by the way?
They live about 6 weeks. About
They live about 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
They live 6 weeks and that's it.
That's it.
So about 3 weeks inside the hive doing house bee jobs, and then about 3 weeks foraging.
Now the
Wow.
queen, the
What?
queen is the most important bee. Without a queen, you will not have a colony of bees. And the queen can live 3, even I've heard up to 5 years. It's more common for her to live 2 to 3 years. Usually I see queens maybe 2 years.
Now, can you tell a queen bee from the other bees?
Yes, the queens are they're probably about twice as long. They have an elonged abdomen. It's definitely longer and noticeably longer. You can also tell by how they walk. They kind of waggle when they walk because they have a long abdomen, and they lay, between 1,500 and 3,000 eggs a day.
They lay 1,000 to 3,000 to 5,000 eggs per day.
Yeah, usually it's about 1,000, 1,500.
So how many days do they lay eggs?
They'll lay eggs once they're mated and back in the colony. They'll lay eggs their whole life until they're
One second,
removed.
once they're mated,
Correct.
what does that mean?
So we do something interesting. We also raise queens. So that's a whole nother process where we actually take young larvae and we put them in a special cell and put it in a special colony that they'll draw and make a queen cell. And that queen will emerge in 16 days it takes. So once that queen emerges,
One second, let's give a plug for what you do. Let's give a plug for your companies.
Oh, okay. My company's called Kempton Honey.
Kempton Honey.
Honey, yep. I'm up near Hawk Mountain Sanctuary up in Kempton, if you know where that is. KemptonHoney.com is my website.
One more time.
KemptonHoney.com.
So if you ever want a bee or honey,
Yep.
contact you again.
Yep. I do apiary tours as well.
yep. So I have a massage business that I run, and that's kind of where I go with my honey. So my massage business is Monarch Medical Massage. I'm a licensed massage therapist as well, and then I sell my honey through that business. And then I also sell, friends, family, people I know. But I also have bees as well, and I deal with queens and selling colonies, nukes, things like that.
So if I want to buy a colony, what does that mean? Do I check with the township?
It depends where you live. If you live
That's
in
a
the
good
city
idea
or
to-
suburbs, I would definitely check with the township, especially if you live city or suburbs. If you're out in the country, it's a little bit easier, but definitely check with your township. Make sure your ordinances are there, so you can own bees.
And also, if I can put in a little plug for the Pennsylvania State Beekeepers Association, one of their main jobs and main focus is coming and speaking to townships about their bee ordinances, because a lot of times, the township will make laws against beekeeping because the community is nervous. But it's actually very safe and very low risk, and people from the Pennsylvania State Beekeepers Association will come to your town and talk to you about the.
They want to attack you, right?
Pardon?
The bees want to attack you.
No.
You hear that, people?
No.
Bees don't attack.
No, when a bee stings, her stinger pulls out of her abdomen and she dies. So they only get defensive if you're like right next to the hive, and they will only sting if they absolutely feel they have to.
Wow.
So they're very docile. They're actually
Very
quite
docile. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, so let's go back to mating. Okay.
So
Yes,
what happens is we'll have a queen cell that is drawn deeper, and it'll be drawn full about an inch, sometimes even an inch and a half. And that queen will hatch out of there, and she's a virgin. She hasn't mated, so she needs time to harden off. She'll take up to 2 weeks in that small colony she's in, and then she'll go out and fly. And she'll fly to something they call a drone mating place. And
Oh,
the
drone congregation area.
yeah, the drones congregate, and they know. And the drones are the male bees. Those are the ones that will mate with the queen. And they'll congregate in the area, and she'll fly out, and they'll smell her pheromone, and they'll follow her, and she'll mate with them.
All of them?
It depends. Sometimes the queen will mate 6, 8, 10 times. We don't know exactly how many
On
times.
average, 12, 15.
Yeah, it can be up to 20.
You'll mate with 12, 15 guys
Yeah.
Yes.
at the same time.
Yeah.
They stay in line?
One right after another. Yeah.
They stay in
fly
line, waiting to mate with the queen bee.
Whoever's the fastest.
Yep.
Whoever's the fastest.
And once the drones mate, they'll literally fall and die.
So once
their
you
whole
mate
life
with
is
the
complete.
queen bee, you die.
Yep, their life is complete. That's
Their
their
life is
only
complete.
job.
Yep, yep.
That's the only thing drones
Their
do. That
mission
that helps.
accomplished.
That's their main job. They don't even
You
feed.
hear that,
themselves.
everyone? All males. Once you mate with a female, you die.
Yep, that's it.
That's your job.
Yeah, that's a little gruesome.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. So they know this. Do they know it before or they know this after? Or
I
just
don't
they
know.
just
They're insects.
hear that? Hear that, Scotty? Hear that, Scotty?
What's that?
About male drones.
Male Jones, yeah. We about to
Once
see
you
the
mate, you
holes.
die. What do you think about that?
I believe it, man.
Once you mate, you die. They stand in line to die.
Oh,
How
man.
much is the 7th day?
$70. Yeah.
So once the queen's
That's a
mated,
male
she'll
green
fly
smoothie.
back, and she'll go back to the colony. And in 2 to 3 days, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less, she'll start laying eggs. And she is a mated queen. She will work the rest of her life as a queen, laying eggs. About 1,000 to 3,000 a day. Usually it's more like 1,000, 1,500.
So bees are really fascinating.
Very fast.
Beyond.
There's lots you can learn.
Beyond.
Yep.
I learned so much. Wow. So you want? So you have a plug. You have a plug. We plugged up the beekeepers. What do you think about bees dying from Monsanto?
From Monsanto?
Yeah, a lot of bees are dying.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that come together to make a very complex picture. We don't really know what primarily is causing it, and there's schools of thought on both ends of the spectrum.
Wow. Because bees are dying at a great rate.
Yeah,
Is that true or not true?
That is true. The number one problem is a mite. It's called the Varroa mite, and it feeds on pupa and it feeds on live bees, and it vectors
Oh,
viruses.
I think I heard about that.
The worst part is that
They
it
go in a
vectors
beehive and
viruses.
eat everyone.
They don't eat all of them, but they do feed on the larvae, and the worst part is that they vector viruses, which months down the road, the colony will fail due to the virus load, not just due to mites. So mite management is a big issue. That's number one.
How do you do it?
How do you deal with mites? There's a lot of options. Actually, when I started beekeeping, I was totally treatment free. I didn't want to use any chemicals, not even something natural.
Yeah.
And I lost every single colony.
You lost every single colony
for more than
because
3
you
years.
wanted to be organic with no chemicals.
I wanted to be no chemicals.
No
period.
chemicals at all, and
Not
you
even
lost
organic,
every
nothing.
single bee.
So now I'm switching to straight organic. So I will use natural things, and I've been
Like what?
There's some natural acids you can use. Some people like to use something called formic acid, and they'll use that. There's different ways to apply that, and that's one of the natural things. There's some other things out there. There's some essential oils. There's people that have some theories out there. A lot of it hasn't been studied well yet, so we're just starting to learn the different natural things we can do. There are a
You know
lot
what I
of
do?
chemicals you can use.
I use borax and apple cider vinegar
For ants,
for roaches.
Roaches, ants.
Yeah.
That's great.
Go on,
Yeah.
go on, go on.
boric acid is very effective that way.
Yeah.
Now, we can't do that on the Varroa mites because we're trying to kill a small bug on a bigger bug. So we're trying to kill the mites without killing the bees.
Wow.
So it's pretty tricky.
It's complicated. Definitely, there's more research going into it now, and a lot more people are studying it. And I think in the next few years, we're going to see a lot more growth in the natural ways to treat and deal with things. We've only had mites here as a big issue. The Varroa mite has only been here as a big issue since the early 90s. So we really don't know too much about it. We haven't had enough time to really study and develop enough research to come up with a foolproof way to treat them. There are a lot of commercial beekeepers that will just use straight up chemicals. They'll use
Wow.
pesticides or fungicides in their colonies to.
And would that
takes out
affect the honey
mites.
then too?
It can. It
Yeah.
can show up in the honey.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why, like he mentioned at the beginning, that I was his mentor. That's why having a mentor and also joining a beekeeping club, almost every county, most counties or a few counties together will have a club. Because there's a lot of education and a lot of decisions to make. There's a lot of different ways to do some of these different things.
There's like I had 1,200 plants.
Yeah.
No idea what I'm doing.
Yep.
But sometimes
Yeah.
people come along as a mentor.
That's a start.
Yeah.
But you don't know.
Yeah, learn from somebody else who's farther down the
Yeah,
same road
yeah.
that you're on. Yeah.
Okay. One more. What's your first name again?
Suzanne.
Suzanne and
Levi.
Levi live talking about the bees. Super educational. Okay. Bye.